Good evening, Pittsburgh, and welcome to Serotonin After Dark. I'm your host, Serotonin. Here's my lovely co-host, Heather Eismont. We have a very exciting cast for you this evening. We've got Tim Gross of Gross Movie Reviews, Christine Soltis, author and actress, that's a double threat, John Towers, wrestler, podcaster, comic writer / artist, Chris Maverick of the Cosmic Hellcats. But first, we've got some exciting news. We just picked up a new producer, Jason Swinchock. You may remember him from our first show, yes, E-Nertia Global Entertainment. So if you get a chance, you should check that out. He's got some wonderful, I guess some pretty gruesome stuff for you. And I guess I want to start out with a bit of a talk with you, the viewers, about what we want to do with this show. Because I guess I don't want the show to just be about me and just about my guests. I want it to be about you as well.
We want to know what you want, so email us, and if you have any requests, let us know what you want to see.
As she just said, we have I've set up a Gmail account, Serotonin After Dark. That's SEROTONIN After Dark @gmail.com. If you could bring that up on the screen, just please do so. That way you can message us with any questions, suggestions, concerns, or requests. I'd like to know who you'd like to see, what you'd like to see, and if you have anything very interesting, I might even read your email fully on the show. That would be nice. And I guess I just want to let you know that the goals of our show is to introduce to you a variety of entertainers and artists for your consideration and enjoyment in hopes of stimulating the creative resources of the Pittsburgh nightlife and entertainment. We really want to bring in a lot of interesting, I guess, artists and
all different kinds of people, different stories. I love coming here because I know every time I come here, I get to meet and talk to these talented people, and a lot you never really think about. Like we have we've had rappers on, we've had film producers, and it's just cool to see like what they get to do, like what they do, and like what got them into it, and just to hear like more about them. And yeah,
we'd like to bring in people that they could network and get to know each other and work together. And also, we would like for you to have a feeling like you know who they are, so that whenever you see them online or something, you see a show coming up, you can go and you could say, "Hi, I saw you on Serotonin After Dark. I'm very interested in what you do." Hopefully you're very interested. I know I'm very interested, and Heather seems very interested. Yeah. So I guess we can just move into
get the show started.
So we'll be right back after a short break. Hello and welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned in. Our first interview is with Tim Gross of Tim Gross Movie Reviews. Would you tell me what type of movies you normally like to review? What are you interested in?
A lot of the movies are 80s horror films. A bulk of the reviews are independent films. A lot of people call them backyard films, but mostly just inspiring filmmakers that make everything from horror, dramatic, and I've had independent movies come from as far as New Zealand, Russia, Germany come into me, and a lot of them either short or feature films that have gone on to different film festivals and other places. Usually I actually even get requests from other independent film companies like Brain Damage and other companies of that nature that ask me if I've seen the films and ask my opinion of them and whether they should pick them up for distribution.
That's very interesting. Heather, did you have any?
Can you tell me how many books have you like released so far, or have you completed?
I've released 7 books. The best one is the big ass book of
That's your
Gross
favorite?
Mover. Yeah, because this is everything that I did up until December 2011, I think it is, or 2010. Yeah, December 2010 was everything in here. Plus, it was reviews that I never published before on my website, grossmoviereviews.com. And it is literally 660 pages with over 1,500
How many movie
reviews.
reviews are in that book?
Over 1,500.
And you've read, I mean, you've watched all these movies.
Yes, and what I do is usually every week or 2 weeks, I will watch anywhere from 6 to about 24 films, and I'll just make notations of them, pay attention to what I'm watching, and it all depends too if independent filmmakers sent me a film recently, or I've run into stuff like Puppet Master sequels, or Leprechaun sequels have been remade or been put out there on a new format. I'll review them. And then I'll just write up the reviews. I'll put them out on my website, and then also end up talking about them on my podcast, Blood Baths and Boomsticks. And I'll contact the independent filmmaker themselves and give them the review. I give them an honest review, and I think that's where I get the reputation why people are willing to give me free movies a lot of times, because if the movie is bad, I will tell you outright it's bad. But I always direct people to where they could buy that filmmaker's movie ad, find out more information about projects they're doing, whether it's writing projects or other film projects. I always make sure I plug them no matter how bad I think the film is. But also too, when I write the reviews, I try to make them funny, short, and to the point, and that way people understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just brief description of the movie out there, and like I said, it's really got me a reputation, especially among independent filmmakers, that they could actually get an honest review from me.
When do you find time to, I guess, watch all these movies?
That's a lot of movies.
A lot of times it's so much, since I always watched horror films since I was 3 years old and did it for fun, especially staying up on weekends and things like that. It's just one of those things I enjoy doing. And I've always enjoyed watching horror films and just, how did that person get killed? What does the creature look like? Can you see the boom mic fall in the scene while it's going on? Do you see them screwing up lines and actually forget to edit out the lines? You see that a lot in independent film, but also too, I'm always looking for the next George Romero, the next Steven Spielberg. People, do they have passion behind these movies? And also, too, I love watching the Sci-Fi Channel movies because everybody hates them. And I love the mashups, whether it's Mega Shark versus Gatoroid, or it's Sharknado with Tara Reid. Just these horrible movies, they're a lot of fun to watch. And it's stuff that's missing from movies, passion, just having the fun of it, the escapism of... kind of like an Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, it's a lost art these days. A lot of times it's mindless popcorn films, but, those movies can be fun too, but there is a lot of exciting filmmakers out there, and pretty much in the past decade, Hollywood's really shut it down to they only come through 3 or 4 studios. It's only a certain handful of filmmakers that could get films out there in theaters themselves, so any chance I have to, if I even like the film, to help that filmmaker in some way. In the past, I've helped them get it shown at different local theaters or even at local film festivals. I try to do that. And when I'm doing signings at conventions, I'll also sell their movies there too.
That's cool. So you're like helping them out, but you're honest about it too. So if it's not that great, you're going to tell them, right?
Oh yeah. I've told filmmakers to their face that, try to, not use the language I usually use, but I've told filmmakers to their face and have found out that is the best policy. It's part of the reason why I had to start my own website. I had to do my own podcast is because I've had other people that have wanted me to write reviews or write articles, and I haven't, and it just doesn't work out because they'll be like, oh, well, we want you to write it this way, or we want you to give this movie a good review, and I refuse. If I don't like the movie, I'm going to tell that, and have literally been banned from certain websites, been downright refused certain screeners, and I'd rather do it my way
than to lie about how you feel about it. Yeah.
And because I've ran into a lot of critics that actually get paid and not naming any websites. I've talked to them at conventions and things like that, and actually they respect me more for how I do things. And I said, it's all for fun. I said, I've gotten to the point, it's for free beer and free movies, and I've made that happen. And if I sell a few books along the way, that's awesome too, because I make a little money. If I don't, who cares?
Because you like what you do, right?
Yeah, I enjoy what I do. It gives me some sanity to a life, you know, that's just a boring life. But horror films is great. I love horror movies. It's just, they're amazing. They're very thoughtful when you watch them, and especially if it has a number after it. I mean, it just, who doesn't want to see, you know, Jason take on Freddy? I mean, I would be the first one in line if they could find a way to have Michael Myers, Ash from Army of Darkness to fight zombies. And
if you had to pick, like, what is your all-time favorite horror film?
All-time favorite horror film? All-time favorite. I try not to make one, but I would say...
one that you can watch over and over.
John Carpenter's The Thing is one of them. It's one of the best remakes of all time, even though a lot of people don't consider it a remake, mainly because it actually sticks to the original source material. The original Creature from Black Lagoon from '54 is one of my favorite monster films of all time. And I really love Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness from Sam Raimi, which is awesome. And then my other one would be Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead in New Zealand.
Okay, see, I haven't seen any of these, so I'm going to have to check some of these out.
So I've heard that you've had some book sales overseas.
Yeah, actually, not only the Big Ass Book of Gross Movie Reviews has sold over in New Zealand and has sold in Canada and Mexico, but my first book, Gross Movie Reviews Volume 1, actually has sold the most copies, which I think to date has sold 450 copies. But it's also Germany, if I can remember it all, Germany, New Zealand, Russia, Canada, Mexico, and I know there was a company, like a bookstore in UK, kind of like a Barnes & Noble, that they were literally for a year and a half ordering 10 books a month off of me. So.
That's so cool to know that your book is in other countries.
Yes. Oh, it's great because you get screeners and you get movies like Night of the Hell Hamsters. It's fun to get stuff like that, and I literally had to get an all-region DVD player in order to play a lot of these movies, and I burned that out just from watching all these movies from all over the place.
Is there a certain country that you think that you most enjoy movies that are produced in or come from?
It's hard to say because all of them have their phases. I mean, Japan went through a phase where they had the ghost movies, but no one realizes they had like a zombie phase with movies like Wild Zero and Versus. It just were crazy mishmashes of like Day of the Dead and Reanimator together. The UK, which came out in France, also Frontiers, Let Me In, just really cool, just crazy off-the-wall stuff, Hunt Tension. Also in the UK, they had a great movie that I think is one of the best movies in the past 15 years called Inside, that literally it harks back to 70s thrillers where the first 2 minutes of the movie is somebody just knocks on a door Christmas Eve night, and a 9-month pregnant woman answers a door. Well, she doesn't open up the door, but she looks through the peephole, and you just hear this voice like, I come here to get your baby. And the next 85 minutes is this person trying to break into the house, kill anybody that comes to rescue her, and literally, at some point in time, there is a pair of scissors, and one of the most un-Hollywood endings that, you know, not to spoil if you've never seen the movie, it's next to Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. It's one of the bloodiest endings you can have for a film, and if you could think of what bad can happen, it does happen in this movie, and it's really cool. I love that kind of stuff.
Sounds pretty terrifying. Could you tell me about Jagoff Massacre?
Oh yeah, Jagoff Massacre is a movie we Yinzers know Jagoff to begin with, and we came up with it. Somebody actually I would say 2 years ago at Horror Realm, was doing a film festival for another website at the time for Horror Realm, and we have short films that would come and they would send them to us, and somebody yelled up after about the third time we did this for Horror Realm. They said, "Why don't you make a movie?" And I was like, "Well, I've been in a ton of them, but I was like, if I'm going to make a horror film, it'll just be for fun." And I said, okay. After I said I'll make one, see me at the next Horror Realm, I made a 7.5-minute short horror film called Undead Holocaust. And literally made it with 4 people. Somebody donated a camera, sound equipment, and actually made most of it in the basement of the Hollywood Theater in a garage of a friend's house. And made it literally for, I think it was $45, and $25 of it was for the bottle of B&J that actually is the booze that Kurt Russell drinks while playing chess in John Carpenter's The Thing. And literally we made the movie, and I actually had tons of filmmakers come up to me after I showed the film at the next Horror Realm, and they were impressed with what I made, and they said, "Did you know what you were doing?" I said, "Oh yeah, I just pushed the record button on the camera and just gave direction," and I had a lot of fun. And as soon as that happened, when we, right here on the book, at the same time I was publishing this, somebody seen the hat that said Jagoff Massacre, and somebody said, "I'm going to write a script for Jagoff Massacre," and I said, "Go ahead, I'll make the movie." Well, somebody did. It was 22 pages, and that's what you have is Jagoff Massacre, which is basically about 2 Yinzers who are completely drunk and a night of chaos as they interrupt Satanists in Frick Park about to sacrifice something to their lord, and the Satanists basically chase Yinzers all over Pittsburgh. And it did really well. The movie was made, literally made $50 for budget, $650 for alcohol. Because you had to be drunk to make a movie called Jagoff Massacre, and it went over so well that I actually had Carnegie Mellon University students asking myself and fellow co-director Daniel Boyd questions about the film. What camera were you using? How did you do the blood? And I was like, half of the time we went by the script we had, but we were coming up with stuff just being on set, just randomly coming up with how to do, because we had 3 makeup people lined up, and because we had no money to pay them, they didn't show, so we're like, hey, let's throw an eyeball against the door. And if the eyeball rolled down the door, we kept the shot, and it did, and it was basically a marshmallow with some paint on it, and it actually looks, people were like, how did you do that? And it was just like, oh, we did this, and other thing, and we just had to stop people from being too drunk to actually get the lines out. And once we did that, to date, the movie's been out since September last year. It's made over $1,400, which is amazing, because any independent movie that makes money is amazing. You know, that's something you should be proud about. So we decided we will not keep any of the money, and we're putting it into a movie called now Jagoff Massacre 2, The Jaggening. and it's complete chaos, basically. Everybody that dies in the first film comes back in the second film, and Yinzer Satan returns, and the Satanists return, and the 2 co-stars, Chuck Connors and Brandon, as Stowski and Chutch, they return also for the movie, and we have a lot of surprises as we already started this week. And all I could say is independent filmmaking at its best when you have a couple of people don't show up again, and next thing you know, I'm basically wearing a diaper and half naked with a tater sack on my head. And just,
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it's just one of the many surprises that comes. But I played 4 different roles in the first movie, and I was never meant to be in front of the screen. It was, like I said, we had Wrestling Old Lady, we had Yinzer Satan, but Daniel Boyd, who was such a fan of my reviews and such a fan of Undead Holocaust, was just like, oh, we got to use you in this. Basically, 1, you're such a bad actor, and 2, you're so Pittsburgh. So,
well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you.
I think your work's very interesting, and I can't wait to hear more. But we're going to move on to Christine Soltis.
Yep.
I hear that you're an author and an actress.
Yes, actually, I started writing about 11 years ago. So far, I've written 20 books. I have published 13 of them. I do everything myself through a company name I call Solstice Night Sky Productions. I actually was recruited by someone from Australia and flown over there to help him write 2 books as well. I also hold like public educational panels at Rickard and Beagle Books. And I also started doing acting in 2009. It was with your producer, Jason Swinchock. My first one with him was Chemical Skyline, which I will probably get into, and now I'm helping write some with him as well.
And that was not a promotional plug.
No, I've just known him for a long time.
So your panel, so your next panel at Rickard and Beagle is August 30th at 2 p.m.?
Yes, actually it's going to be a horror fanatics one. Right now I have Sandy Stolfire, who runs the Pittsburgh Horror Realm Convention. Benzie does a lot of, he's a guy who does a lot of like creatures and stuff, like horror creatures. I also have a David Fairhead who's coming, and Jason's actually the moderator. So I'm ready for that one.
Could you tell me about Midnight Kiss?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's another one that I actually keep plugging Jason. But I actually worked on that one with him. He had this idea for this woman who was a like a succubus, kind of like a demon, who would get men to do what she wanted, which, you know, would be to abduct a certain guy, and then they would, you know, she would find joy in killing him, not to be morbid or anything. But I helped him write the script for that. He ended up filming it, and recently it was in the Washington Film Festival and won an award for Best Cinematography. I know that there may be a chance of doing like a series of those in the future, which is cool because I want to get more into doing film, because like I'm always writing just books, and people don't always have time to read as much, so I'm trying to get myself to do more film and things like that.
Do you think you might end up working with our other producer, Michael Migliore?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Where can we find you online?
Solstice Night Sky Productions on Facebook. You'll find a lot of event information, things that are coming up there.
I was going to ask you, I know you've been to different states. I know you haven't always lived in Pittsburgh. Is there a place that you liked best, like working? Like I think you told me LA.
Yeah, actually that was kind of my dream, was to move out to LA. I tried it out. I was there for a couple months. While I was there, it was strange. It was difficult to find a job, but it wasn't hard to find an acting gig. So I signed a confidentiality disclosure on it, but I was on a courtroom genre. I can't say the name, but it did actually air on like the CW and Fox networks. I think the thing I miss the most about being out in LA is how easy it is to, you know, sit down and look through ads and see, look, there's an acting gig, and then that day,
because there's so many, right?
Yeah, they're doing an open call that day, so you can just go out,
yeah,
you know, immediately, just, you know, you get paid, so it's great. It was really great. I do miss it out there. They have all the beaches, palm trees, and things like that.
Yeah, I heard it's beautiful. I need to go there, but
it sure is. It's expensive though, and there, you know, a lot of things to think about.
Yeah.
I personally think it's very hot.
Yeah. I love the heat though.
Well,
yeah, I mean, after this winter here, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll get back to you in a little bit then, and we're going to move on. Oh, crap. To John Towers, pro wrestler, podcaster, and comic writer. I don't know what a podcast is, actually.
Me either. I was going to ask you that earlier.
Well, it's a digital media where basically you can have like a radio show, and it's because of like the limitations of terrestrial radio, podcasting is actually a huge thing, and there's like a hotbed of it in this area right now. Basically, you know, if you have a computer and a personality, you can do, you know, you could do one of these things. So there's great websites like Stitcher, where it basically aggregates all like a ton of these podcasts, and it sorts them for you by topic, and you could just listen to it right there on your tablet or laptop or phone now, everything. So that's
so
what a podcast is. Yeah. Well, I mean, technically it's easy to do, but there's the talent kind of portion, and you have to have like a whole kind of production. But some guys just use the mic that's on their laptop, and and then some guys I know, go crazy and have mics and studios, in their garages or in their spare rooms of their house and that kind of thing. So I'm one of those. Like my work area has microphones and stuff and soundboards, all over it. So that's it's called Red Horse Radio, by the way. You can find it. All of my stuff is on JonnyAX.com, JonnyAXX.com. You can find all the comic book stuff. Everything is like right there on the hub.
Oh, cool.
Okay. I'm going to repeat that. JonnyX.com.
X, A-X-X.
AXX.
Yeah, no, I get it all the time.
Sorry.
But there's news on there. Recently redesigned. I have a book being published in spring of 2015 by Postmortem Press. It's called The Dijin Jihad. So there's news and stuff on there like all the time, trying to get that information out there.
What sort of comics do you write?
Well, the graphic novel that's coming out is it's about like terrorists. Like I got really paranoid at one point in time about terrorists bringing in a nuclear weapon. So what I did is my terrorists are bringing in a magical lamp, and there's a genie in it. And it lets the genie out, and it's kicking buildings over in Pittsburgh, and it's all set here, and dudes fighting that threat, I guess.
And then I'm also interested in your wrestling. We have a video, if we could cue that up. A pro wrestler.
Oh.
That takes some special skill. Now, are you actually kicking people in the face in that video?
Yeah, actually, the band, the guy who wrote that song called me one day and he was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I've been writing lyrics about kicking people in the face all day long because I'm writing this song about you." So I was like, it's a really cool experience. Those guys, they're called X-Profit. You can find them on social media and the website out there. But yeah, I really loved it. As soon as I got my meat hooks on the song, I start cutting those videos. But yeah, that's face kicking for sure.
Face kicking. I gotta say, I've always wanted to kick somebody in the face, but never really got to.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there was once when I was 7 years old. On a dare. Well, I guess we'll move on to Chris Maverick of the Cosmic Hellcats. I happen to be a part of that, just putting that out there. Chris, what can you tell us about the Hellcats?
What do you want to know?
Cosmic Hellcats.
Cosmic Hellcats. It's a comic strip. It's a comic strip and comic book. There's web versions, there's print versions. I've been doing it since, let's see, 2008. Yes, 2008 was when we started it, so this is year 6. And we started it based on, I also work as a photographer. So I was shopping one day, and this is the story of Cosmic Hellcats. I went shopping, and I saw a shiny silver miniskirt, like a Catholic schoolgirl skirt, in the stripper section at Spencer's. And I thought, this is hilarious. So I just took a cell phone picture of it, and I texted a friend of mine who's done some modeling for me. And I just texted Liz, and I said, check this out, awesome. And then I walked away from it, and like 4 seconds later, I got back a text message that says, I wear size medium. It's like, okay. So then I thought about it. It's like, well, if I'm going to buy this skirt, what could I do with it? And I decided, well, there's got to be some kind of, it's silver, so there's got to be some kind of space story or something that we can do with this. So I bought that, and then I texted 3 other models that I knew. So there were four Hellcats originally. And I said, real quick, what are your sizes? So they just wrote me back. And then I bought them, and then I was like, well, now I've got to figure out something to do with this, because I've got this, I have no outfit. I just have 4 tiny little skirts. So I decided, all right, well, if they're in space, well, they should be all silver and shiny black. So I bought tops for them, and we got boots and everything. And it's like, all right, that's still not, they don't look alien enough. In the meantime, I was talking to my friend Max, who is a guy I went to college with, and he's an artist. We decided we were going to do a comic book about it. It's like, well, we'll do a comic book that has both photography and drawing. So that sounds like a really cool idea. And there's like, they're not alien enough. What if we gave them cat ears? Yeah, because for no apparent reason, we decided that makes them look like aliens. So we gave them cat ears, we gave them cat tails, and it's like good enough. So we started writing the book. Now the very first Hellcat comic, Max and I wrote, drew, and did the photography in 3 weeks from start to finish, because it just happened to be like 3 weeks before Pittsburgh Comic-Con. So we signed up for it with no product, and we basically produced the entire thing without sleeping in 3 weeks flat, and got a website up, and then we went there, and it was pretty successful. So we said, okay, we have to keep going. So now we've continued to do it for the last 6 years. There are, I think, 22 girls who have modeled for the project, including one who's sitting right over there. So we've had photography from, in it we've got spin-off comics. The main book's called Cosmic Hellcat Adventures. Then there's Cat and Dog. There's Star Fox Adventures. There's Teddy Jam Adventures, and I'm starting a new one soon. So we've been doing it for quite a while. It's an expanding universe that I've worked on. I guess thus far, every Hellcat story that's been written, has been written by me. I've drawn about half of them, or not quite half of them. I've colored. My friend Max has drawn most of the main book, and then on the side projects, I've drawn them, and then there's some being drawn by Samantha Collier is another artist who works with me. Jason Bender is an artist who works with me. Dan Gorman has done some, and then there's been pinup art by various people.
Well, we have a slideshow of, well, first it starts out with some of your photos of yourself that I think are
360 photos. I'm excited. I haven't seen this, so.
I think that they embody you very well of who you are, and then it moves on to some of your photography photos, because you mentioned that you were a photographer, and then some of your superhero sketches, and then a couple from the Hellcats, ending with a photo of all the Hellcats. I might be in the left corner if you want to check that out specifically. So if we could roll that slideshow. I have also become aware that you were a pro wrestler as well, retired, and I was wondering if you and John had ever been in the ring together.
No.
Hustled it out. No?
No, never. I don't think we've ever even been on the show together.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. When did you start again?
99, 2000, I guess.
Right, and I started originally in 2003, 2002, 2003, and I wrestled till I guess like 2010 or 11.
Yeah, I took a huge break probably at the time where you were kicking. So
there's several people who we've both wrestled again.
We travel in the same circle. Yeah.
But yeah, I've been retired, which has various degrees of permanence in the wrestling community, for almost 2 years now. And it's fun, and as you said, I get to kick people in the head, which is the best in the world.
It's a really good
There's
feeling.
nothing better than just kicking.
You were talking earlier about the therapeutic value of it is a lot of the kicking in the head.
Yeah.
You know.
If I knew, I would have. That was my finisher. Was I called it sweet ghetto music. Was one of my finishing moves. I'd flip over. So I'd bounce off the ropes, and then I would do a flip over the guy, land on my feet, and then turn around and kick somebody in the face. I would have brought a video. I didn't know we were doing that today.
You didn't get the memo.
I did not get the memo of the I was told I was here for comics.
Kicking in the face.
But yes, I have a whole video that's like 3 solid minutes of me kicking people. If you go on YouTube and look Chris Maverick up on YouTube, it's there. You'll see 3 solid minutes of me kicking people in the face to Kanye West music.
I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, it's very.
Kanye West probably makes it even better too.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate wrestling as a performance art form. I know you have to be able to do all these sorts of things without permanently damaging your opponents.
There's a lot of permanent damage.
We have to try not to.
Or yourself is what you're more worried about.
Yeah.
Well, in wrestling, how do you not permanent damage somebody permanently?
Well,
Like, do you have to watch for certain places you're not allowed to hit, or are there rules to it?
man,
I'm sure there's a lot of practice.
There's a lot of training.
there you go.
I trained for, I want to say 13 months before my first ever match, 12, something like that. When I think my first match, when you decide you want to become a wrestler, you find a wrestling school, and there's several all over the country, and then you hope it's a really good wrestling school.
This is the way that you should do it.
Yeah.
It's not the way that it happens all the time anymore.
Okay, or you become a backyard wrestler where you just run up and you just say, and they say, "Hey, have you trained?" You say, "Sure, I have," and then people get hurt.
I'm going to book you in a match with a 300-pound gorilla.
Right. Yeah. That's bad. But hopefully you train, you go to school, and you practice 2, 3, 4 times a week for a good year, and then somebody says, "All right, kid, here's your shot," and they throw you in the ring, and they beat the crap out of you.
It's a lot of taking the ring down, putting the ring up. A lot of that. Paying the dues and all that kind of stuff. And you just learn a respect and a tradition for the history of it. And, you just realize you don't really want to kick the guy's teeth out, or you might really want to kick the guy's teeth out, but you can't. Kind of.
Yeah.
So it's just varying degrees of violence or whatever. I'm not the kind of guy that spilled beans on the business, so you're not going to get any secrets out of me.
Yeah. But we did get hurt. But we were comparing injuries earlier. I have a bad shoulder from my career. I don't have full motion. I've dislocated this shoulder 4 times in the ring. I've been knocked out in the ring twice. Being knocked out is not fun. It ruins your day.
Not fun. I got knocked out in a mosh pit once. That was not fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a nice kind of parallel is a mosh pit. You're in there and you're moshing. You're not trying to kill somebody, but you're trying to get that aggression out. So it's that's a neat analog kind of to it.
I think so. Every once in a while, you run into somebody where you're really trying to kill them. Yeah, it's a big community. Not everybody's your favorite person, but for the most part, I mean, you do want to enjoy wrestling. You want to be the best, but you also, despite how we might act in character, he's a good guy. I was a bad guy my entire career. So
it's very dangerous having us sit this close together.
Yeah, despite what I might have said in the ring, I don't really want to end anybody's career and kill anybody. and mistakes happen. I mean, I have hurt people permanently. I talked about my shoulder doesn't work anymore.
I accidentally kicked a guy's teeth out once.
Yeah. I blew a guy's ACL. So that's.
But I think that you identified it right when you call it performance art. That's a lot how I think of it. It's like I don't want to go as far as say it's like a dance or whatever, but it's definitely like it's actually storytelling at its base. Like you got a good guy and a bad guy. There's consequences for their actions, and there's a flow to the story, and it resolves itself. And
ring psychology.
Yeah.
I know the first time I realized that it was a performance was there was a bad guy and a good guy, and you could hear the good guy's thoughts as he was entering the ring. Like you could just hear his thoughts somehow. And then the good guy had stolen his pet rat and hid it up on each end of the ring, and he had to go in. He had to fight this guy off of him long enough that he could climb up and reach in to grab his rep. And each time he would get a rat trap wrapped around his fingers.
Awesome.
It was pretty ridiculous, but it was fun. It's all a lot of fun.
Yeah, I want to come back just so I can wrestle a rat on a pole match. That was.
It's probably definitely a good way to get anger out too.
Yeah.
It's a good workout too. I mean, if you're the nice thing about wrestling was when I was doing it. I mean, there's this 4 times a week that I'm definitely working out, and as opposed to since retiring, there's like I don't want to work out today, and you get lazy and you get fat. But but while I was doing it, you have to work out a lot so that you don't get hurt any worse than.
You have to be like totally committed when you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever snuck in a cheap shot on somebody you didn't like? I've definitely punched somebody in the face in a mosh pit, and then and then I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just moshing."
Going into business for yourself, yeah, that happens. There are, and it's happened to me as well. Yeah, it's fun, and it's dangerous, and eventually it just sort of ends.
Yeah, it has to end sometime.
Well, maybe we could do a bit of a crossover in genres here and bring Tim Gross back. Have you reviewed Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies?
No, I haven't, but I have met the people behind the movie, and I haven't formed an opinion one way or another, but I heard some stuff before.
It's an interesting group.
Yeah, it is. But Johnny and I were talking about a little bit of Jagoff Massacre earlier, and I do a couple wrestling moves in there as an old lady in Jagoff Massacre.
A wrestling old lady.
Yes.
With horns.
With horns, a red wig, and
What moves?
Well, we came up with it right on the spur of the moment. I said, let's do a couple wrestling moves. And the actor we had named Jamie Gregory, he's a big wrestling fan, loves independent wrestling, loves Yin's guys. And I just said to him, I was like, look, just let me put you in an arm bar. You reverse it as I reverse it back. And I elbow you, knock you down, grab my leg, sweep my leg, and I just take a back fall. It's just like you stab me right in the mouth. He's like, do this all in one motion. He's like, can you do this? And he's like, yes. So even before he gets started, I decided to, rip off Triple H. Of course, we're drinking. I chug a bunch of beer, and I just do the whole Batista Triple H thing, spit it up in the air, and we begin to wrestle because he's wanted a Satanist. And we literally did this in one take. And the camera guy, Bryce's expression's like, he didn't believe we could do this stuff. And Dan literally almost pissed his pants trying to not laugh while we're filming this scene. And we did it all in one take. And actually, during premiere Jagoff Massacre, we were actually sitting with a few guys from KSWA here in Pittsburgh. And they just looked at me and was like, very well done. Very well done. And I was just like, I was glad to even just have that respect from those guys. Just, because it's, of course, I know as a male child, growing up during the 80s, you loved rock and wrestling. You loved Hulk Hogan, you loved Piper, you loved Ric Flair, you loved all those people. And
I hated Hulk Hogan.
well, yeah. I was a Ric Flair person too, but more of a Roddy Piper person. So I was always for the eye gouge and that kind of stuff. But that's what we did. I had a chance to put it in a movie. We did it, and it became one of the funniest parts of the movie. So.
Well, you said earlier that you were interested in crossovers in the horror movies, and what would you think, which I personally think would be amazing, Chucky versus Leprechaun?
I would love that idea. We discuss subjects like this on my podcast with my friend Kyle Pauling, and we have a lot of filmmakers on there. And we discuss this on Blood Baths and Boomsticks all the time, talking about mashups like this, and would it be possible? And it'd be really cool because Chucky just had Curse of Chucky just came out with a new film, and it was awesome.
I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I loved how they brought back Chucky and the whole storyline, bringing characters back from the other sequels, which I thought was really cool, and just the exploring how Chucky just keeps living on for different reasons at this point. But having Leprechaun, knowing Leprechaun's been in the hood, back to the hood, he's been in space, he's been in Vegas. It's great because it would be cool to see something like this and have them two face off. It'd be like Freddy versus Jason, and everybody snickers at that Freddy versus Jason, but everybody forgets that movie made $125 million here in the U.S., over $200 million internationally. So apparently there's more weird people like myself out there want to see these types of movies, and I would love to see Chucky versus Leprechaun. And hell, let's put Sharknado and let's put weird boob-looking Tara Reid in it too. It would be great.
Oh man, I think the show has been awesome. I'm very happy that you guys have come on. Having a stagnant moment. I don't know what to say.
So do you guys are all from Pittsburgh? Were you guys from anywhere else, or were you always in this area?
I've lived in Pittsburgh all my life. I've literally moved, my brother and I literally moved 6 blocks different directions from my mother's house in Brookline. And I am Pittsburgh through and through. Penguins, Yinzers.
Yeah, see your Penguins.
I mean, we even have Iron City all through Jagoff Massacre just because of Pittsburgh. And I mean, Chilly Billy, Bill Cardill, who did Chiller Theater back in the day for us old people, that's what started me the whole time. And I even grew up and I admire people like Tom Savini, Greg Nicotero, George Romero, who are all from Pittsburgh. So, just listen to me talk, and especially when I start drinking.
Yeah, I hear that we have a Pittsburgh accent.
What's that?
I mean, I guess we have a Pittsburgh accent to other people.
Oh, yeah. You drive 20 minutes in any direction, and it's amazing how different it is. And one of the funniest things ever to happen, going to a horror movie convention in Cleveland, Cinema Wasteland, and I'm a big Yuengling drinker, love Yuengling. And I went there, and first thing I did, went to the bar, said, "Hey, can I have a Yuengling?" And the bartender turns around and goes, "Hey, Steeler fan, you're not getting the Yuengling because we don't sell that crap here." And it was just funny because he immediately knew, and I was just like, well, this only could happen.
Because you said Yuengling, or how you said it?
Well, just how I said it, and
they didn't sell it in Cleveland for a really long time. They
now, and Yuengling's now all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, you're from Cleveland.
Yeah, and it's amazing because even going to places like Louisville, Kentucky, and we would take Iron City and Yuengling with us, and they would be like, "What's that?" And it's just like, and it even became known around in some of the horror circles. They would call it the nectar of the gods because it was either a horror movie or a Yuengling always pasted in my hand constantly. There's just tons of pictures with me drinking it, and of course, just people call me the ultimate Yinzer because I even use that in my reviews. I use that language because I suck at proper English, and I went to city schools, and I am Pittsburgh through and through. I can't help it. It comes out, especially when I'm drinking. The accent, I'll start talking about jumbo and Jagger bushes. things of that nature. So
You two said you're from Cleveland. Are you happy with your move to Pittsburgh?
I am.
Well, I've never been there, so I don't know what it's like. But
With that being said, I'm not a football fan. Either
Are you a
direction.
Steelers
So,
fan?
no, I don't like football at all.
I'm a huge Steelers fan. Growing up in Cleveland, being a huge Steelers fan is very, very hard.
Yeah.
it would be like growing up. It would be like growing up in Pittsburgh, being a Browns fan, except for that just doesn't happen.
I was going to say, nobody cares what happens to Brian Sipe here in Pittsburgh.
But yeah, now my brothers are both big Browns fans, but I was a huge Pittsburgh fan, and I was the weird guy in the house. So I moved here. I moved here when I was 17. I graduated from high school, and I moved here 2 weeks. And I moved here 2 weeks later.
And we have the best fans in the world, so.
I'm not a Pittsburgh native either. I'm from West Virginia, and I can definitely hear all of your accents. It's kind of like a grinding. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm from Cleveland. I can hear their accents. It is weird. You guys sound funny.
You ever go back to Cleveland and hear the Cleveland accent? Yeah. I got your hat. You gotta go get a hot dog.
In Cleveland, we don't. So Pittsburgh's weird because Pittsburgh has its own words like Yenzer and Jagoff. Yeah, Clevelanders don't. We only have one vowel sound. It's schwa. The easy ones, aunt and aunt. We say aunt, but every word. My mother's name is Lynn, Lynn, and I have a friend named Len, short for Leonard. I was 20-something years old before I realized those were different names. And I still can't say it. It's Lynn and Lynn, pen and pen. We only have one. That's how we talk.
I know when somebody first said Jagger to me, I was like, what does Mick Jagger have to do with bushes? What is happening right now?
Jagger Bush. Well, that was funny.
I want to thank you all again for coming on. I'm going to ask you to go in a row and give the best place for us to find you online, just so people can find you again. If you could start, what is your website or your podcast?
People could always find me at grossmoviereviews.com. The podcast is bloodbathsandboomsticks.blogspot.com. And of course, you could always find me at Facebook at Gross Movie Reviews also. And don't forget, check out jagoffmassacre.com too.
I want to watch that.
And, Christine?
You can find me I did bring one of my books. It's Recluser 2038. You can check those out and read excerpts of them. You can also find me on Facebook, Solstice Night Sky Productions. That's where you'll find out about acting and panel information.
And John Towers?
You can find me at www.johnnyaxe.com, redhorseradio.com. My Twitter handle is JohnnyAxe, so I'm easy to find.
And Chris Maverick?
I'm also easy to find. Chris Maverick, anywhere on the web is me. So chrismaverick.com is my website. The comic strip is cosmichellcats.com. And then on Facebook, I'm at Chris Maverick. Or on Twitter, I'm at Chris Maverick on Facebook. I'm also Chris Maverick Photography. So if you search for Chris Maverick, I'm always the top Google hit. If you search for Cosmic Hellcats, always the top hit.
And Heather, thank you again for coming on.
I'm glad to be back. I had an awesome time meeting all of you. Nice to meet all of you.
And, thank you, Pittsburgh, for tuning in once again. Make sure you send us some emails at serotoninafterdark@gmail.com. That's SEROTONIN afterdark@gmail.com. And I guess I'm Peter Vankman saying, just kidding. I'm Serotonin. Thank you for tuning in.